I feel in for me in the start, I've been told by a few people that why you know going back to your own country? Why I came here for your support. I don't want you to tell me. I just want your help.
What we want to try to do is to avoid them having to go back if they don't want to. If the perpetrator has changed and they're convinced, that's fine. We're not here to stop them from going back if they feel that is the right thing for them. But we don't want them to go back out of desperation.
Every day, women across the UK make the most difficult decision of their lives, leaving an abusive home, escaping violence, choosing safety. But leaving is only the beginning of their fight. With nowhere to go, many survivors and their children face an uncertain future, moving between emergency shelters, temporary accommodation, or even the streets. For some, safety comes at a devastating cost: the loss of stability, the loss of a home. This is the story of one survivor, a mother who arrived at Contento Social Homes 4 years ago with a young baby. That baby is now 4 years old, and this refuge house is the only home he has ever known. Hundreds of women and children remain trapped in refuge or temporary housing, waiting, sometimes for years, for a transition back to normal housing and out of refuge. They have already escaped abuse and received the necessary support to build themselves up, yet they are still living in uncertainty within the confines of a refuge. All they can do now is wait, waiting on the authorities to decide their fate, bidding for a normal life for them and their children. Should survivors of domestic violence have to suffer twice? Have we failed in our urgency to protect those who have survived, only for them to endure another form of trauma?
So I'm in the refuge from past 4 years. So I'm a victim of domestic abuse. So in the start, when I moved in the refuge, it was really difficult for me. As like I said, the English barrier, language barrier for me, and other stuff as well. Like from my in-laws, there was a domestic abuse going on. And still after moving to the places, still there was following and stuff that was going on. That was really hard for me to, because already I was scared to take this step for myself. And then after finding all these things why I was going with me from my in-laws, it was really hard for me to get into the life again.
The campaign, A Home for Every Woman Survivor, was inspired by the women that we support. Contento has been running for the past 4 years, opened its first doors in 2020 at the height of the coronavirus pandemic. And as we all know, during the pandemic, there was a high number of domestic violence cases, and we responded to that need, and we opened up our first doors of refuge spaces here in Birmingham.
It was really difficult for me. At the one point, I thought to go back because I thought maybe I don't feel safe here. My child is not, feeling safe here. So it's better to go back because if there is no safety, no point living here. Because if there is no support, if there is no like organization who are supporting you, if they are not there, you feel unsafe. Like you think you can't do nothing. That like your life is finished.
In our mission and in our vision is that we move women that are victims of domestic violence from the community, from their perpetrators, put them in a safe space where they are able to recoup, find their confidence, find who they are, find their own identity. They're equipped, they're allowed to have some financial independence and financial stability. They are assisted to look for jobs, look for training if they don't have any skills, skills training. We counsel them, we provide them with counseling services, we provide them with legal advocacy while they're in refuge. This is to give them the skills and the confidence and the tools for them to be able to live independently. Once they are at that stage when they are feeling that they are able to, we want to be able to transition them into accommodation, which is dispersed accommodation that will still be managed by us. They still receive our support, because remember, this is probably somebody who's probably never managed a tenancy on their own, who's never managed to pay bills, who never managed to pay rent and budget and on all those things. So we don't want them to put them into community and set them up to fail. So we want to be able to put them into a step down from a refuge. So it's some part of the community, but they're still part of our organization, right? So we still continue to support them, and that is what we call dispersed accommodation. Once we are confident, and once they are confident that they are able to live on their own, then we begin to withdraw our support slowly by slowly until they are fully independent, and still until they are able to manage their own tenancy on their own, when still they are able to budget, and still they're able to find their jobs and find education and find everything that can equip them to live independently. So we withdraw our support slowly but surely until they're it's got to be a mutual understanding and mutual agreement between us and them to say, I think I'm okay now. So we then let go, but we still stay close, we still stay in contact, we still tell them that our support is within reach as soon as they need it. This is to avoid them having to fall back to their perpetrators, because in some circumstances and some situations, some women have fled, they've gone into accommodations and they have not received the right support, and because they've never been able to live on their own, they feel as if the world is crashing on them, and they end up going back to the perpetrators, and the perpetrators take advantage of them. They actually now are even more abusive, because they say, you tried to run away, you know you cannot live without me. So they now increase the level of abuse that they do. So if we want, what we want to try to do is to avoid them having to go back if they don't want to. If the perpetrators changed and they're convinced, that's fine. We're not here to stop them from going back if they feel that is the right thing for them. But we don't want them to go back out of desperation. We want them to go back if that is what they think is good for them. But we want them to empower them, and we want them to get to a position where they can even say to the next person that they meet, I live here, this is my home. If I'm having a relationship with you, with either we live here or I live with you, or whatever they agree, but at least let them have the confidence to be able to stand on their own and defend their own will and their own rights with confidence, knowing that they're not going to be thrown onto the streets, they're not going to be homeless, they're not going to be left destitute. We still are there to support them. Whenever they get to a point where they're struggling, we still give them some support.
Obviously you can't live your whole life in the refuge. It is a good place, but still everybody want their own private life, they want their own houses. And I think if that's the thing, like if this company is good, it will be great, and obviously the women will be happy, so we can live life as normal people they are living, and we have a right to live a private life whatever we want in the life. Here, like 4 years, long time. The housing is very very important, as most of the women's, they are from different countries, the people belong, and when we're living here we have a certain time where we can go and visit our families, but here we stuck, like we can only allow to go for 2 weeks or maybe 1 week. If we go for a longer period, the council, they will stop paying our rent for the housing. That's stopping you. Other than that, housing is important because our families are not allowed to come to the properties, because that's for everybody. Shared houses, families are not allowed. We obviously women, we want to do, some of them they want to start their own small businesses. We can't do it because we're not allowed to tell address to anybody. A place, only one dream, Where how you can keep all your stuff in the room. Shared house, when there's 2 3 kids in the house, and even if there's a one bathroom, then it is difficult. Kitchen, there's 4 or 5 people sharing. So your own home is very important for you. Even you have your own home, you can get into your life, you can start focusing on your future. But here we're stuck, we can't think about the future, because here only the thing stopping is the house, because we think, when will I have the house, then we'll do this thing. When will I have, then I'll go, start doing my job.
Our long-term vision is that these women have access to affordable houses, right? We all know that the home ownership ladder is a very complex thing at the present moment. So what we want to do is to be able to help these women. Once they've transitioned into independent accommodation, we begin to work with them, work on their credit scores, work on them on their savings, work on them being able to eventually say, we are able to buy this property out of your hands, and we either hand it over to them. The good thing is that once we have sold the property to them, or we've handed the property over to them, it gives us the finances to go and get another one, and then move another woman out of refuge again, and free up refuge space for someone who's in crisis, for someone who's needing the intensive support. So the cycle is that we don't have a blockage. The cycle continues to move. So we create space in refuge, move the one that is ready to move out into dispersed, they move them into independent accommodation, and then that is creating that space and refuge again. So someone who's calling from home, someone who's calling from the community, who's fleeing from domestic, still has got a place. And this one is also transitioning. They're not having a roadblock, they're not having a stoppage, they're not having something blocking their development and their independence.